Hey everyone, how's it going? Azren, the language nerd here. Hope you're doing very well. I just want to make sure that the audio and stuff is working, so give me a second as I check it here. Audio and video, that there's no problems. Azren, the language nerd here. Fantastic. It is working well, so I'm happy about that. Well, welcome to episode number 28 of Azren's Journal. For those of you who have not seen these videos before, it's pretty straightforward. This is the segment on my YouTube channel where I share various language learning advice or pieces of advice, as well as give you some insights into my personal language learning journey. So first and foremost, today you might notice my voice is a little bit funny, a little bit off. This is because last week I had some bad luck. I got food poisoning on, it would have been Wednesday, if I remember correctly, something like that. So Wednesday was food poisoning. I had some popcorn that made me sick for some reason. So that was Wednesday night. Thursday's food poisoning. I think Friday was still kind of sick. And then directly after, I got a minor cold. So kind of bad luck. I'm feeling pretty much normal, 100% normal, except for my throat is still a little bit funny, still coughing a bit and all of that. But overall, feeling pretty good. Still in Taiwan, I literally have about, I think it's 11 or 10 days left. Maybe, I think it's 11 days now left in Taiwan before my trip is basically over. And I think that ties into the very first thing I want to talk about in this video, which is time crunches. I find that when you are in a time crunch, when there's an actual time limit to maximize how much you're learning, I find that most people, maybe even all of us, we tend to get a heck of a lot more motivated and a heck of a lot more, I guess you could say, productive, ultimately, because we feel that time crunch. And so one thing that it's important to realize is when you're studying a language or practicing a language, there's going to be a lot of ebbs and flows. There's going to be times where you're not very motivated or not very connected. And there's going to be other times where you're going to feel very connected. And I made a very quick podcast about this yesterday, but let's bring it to YouTube as well. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever got a few years back was when you're feeling really connected to whatever skill you're trying to learn, working out or languages, whatever. Whenever you feel very, very connected to it, that is when you have to double down. That's when you have to put in as much effort as you can. That's really important, because when the pendulum swings the other way and when you're in a position of, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't feel like it, you're not seeing progress, etc. In those moments, the goal is to keep making baby steps forward, really small steps. That's basically the whole dichotomy. When you're not feeling good, when you're not motivated, can you keep making baby steps forward so you're not doing nothing? And when you're feeling really connected, really motivated, really energetic about it, you're making a lot of progress, you're excited, that's when you have to put in even more energy and double down in those moments. And hopefully when you're not feeling good, when you're not motivated, hopefully taking the baby steps forward eventually leads you to a point where you are very excited once again, because it builds some momentum. So that's the very first thing I wanted to start this podcast off with, because I think it's a very useful piece of advice that can help a lot of people. And yeah, now the rest of this podcast, or this video here, what am I saying? The rest of this video, I want to get really practical. I find that with a lot of my videos, sometimes they get very airy, quote unquote, airy, meaning we talk a lot about theoretical things. We talk a lot about mindset. We'll talk a lot about my personal experience. But it's rare for me to make a video where I say, hey, use this tool, or hey, this is how many minutes you should study, or hey, follow these 3 steps to study or practice blah, blah, blah language. It's very rare for me to get that narrow and that practical. So that's what I want to do today, because I think there's a lot of value in it and I don't do it enough. So first and foremost, This is a tip for Mandarin learners specifically. You should absolutely be using an app called Pleco. I typed it in the live chat right now. Pleco is an app I highly recommend you use. It is a really good dictionary, but on top of that, you can even make flashcards in the app, and you can make Pleco test you on those flashcards. I love it. There's additional features you can pay for as well. It's generally a free app, but they have paid add-ons. One of the add-ons that is really good is you can use Pleco to scan characters. You can find a character around you somewhere, scan it, and it will tell you what that character means. Really, really useful. Because characters, if you imagine normally what has to happen, Mandarin learners, you may have experienced this, is to look a word up in the dictionary, you actually have to pretend this is my phone, right? And I see some character I don't know. I have to copy every little stroke that I see in that character and then look that up in the dictionary. It's a real pain in the butt. It's not very fast, I find. It's quite impractical. So this is a tool that I recommend very heavily. Another tool I'll recommend as well, this is for various language learners, English, French, French, English, yes, Spanish, yes, like lots and lots and lots of languages, is a YouTube channel. This one is called Easy, I'll type it in here in the live chat, Easy Languages. I highly recommend this YouTube channel. This is a YouTube channel that has two types of videos. They have street interviews that are subtitled in both the target language and in English. And they will interview people on the street about various topics. It's a great resource to use to see how native speakers actually use language. It's one of the only resources I've also seen that is really good for upper intermediate or advanced speakers of a language. Often I find a lot of the resources that are available for different languages are targeted towards beginners or low intermediates or things like that. And these Easy Languages street interviews are probably a little bit, in many ways, maybe even better for advanced speakers or intermediate speakers. Maybe they're even better for that kind of level of speaker. So it's a really good resource. The Easy Languages YouTube channel also has videos that are called in their Super Easy series. The Super Easy videos are targeted towards beginners. So I, for example, make super easy English videos on the Easy Languages YouTube channel. So, for example, if you literally search in YouTube, Easy Languages Azren, my name, you'll find many, many videos. Well, not many, many, but whatever, 10-ish, 10, 11 videos, something like that at this point, maybe, that I have made on this YouTube channel for English learners. So this is a resource I cannot recommend more. I love this resource. It's a it's a very, very useful tool. Another resource I like, let's stick on resources for now, and then we'll go into other practical tips. So, another resource that I'm a big fan of, this is for many languages. Actually, I'm going to check what languages is for, because I'm not even sure. Let's double check right now. Looks like English, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, Russian, Japanese, Mandarin, Polish, Dutch, Swedish, Danish, Finnish, Greek, Czech, Romanian, Hungarian, Slovak, a lot. Oh my goodness, there's a lot. So most likely the language you're learning, unless it's a very obscure language, this is the resource you can use. It is called Lingui. I'll type it in the live chat here. Linguee. There you go. Lingui. Really good resource. It is a dictionary. What I like about Lingui is two things. Number one, it is an accurate dictionary. For example, Google Translate is not necessarily the most accurate dictionary. It just isn't. Google Translate is good for typing in short phrases or a word and getting a half-decent translation. A translation that a native speaker could read and they go, oh, it's not perfect, but I see what you're trying to say. That's what Google Translate is good for. It's not the best dictionary. Lingui is a really good dictionary. It will give you, generally speaking, the right word for what you are looking for. What I like about Lingui is if you have an intermediate level or higher in a language, Lingui has an additional tool that will allow you to identify what context of the word you are looking for. So, for example, I know many of you speak English, obviously, and many of you speak or are learning Spanish. So let's say you're thinking in English, how do I say the word get, like G-E-T? How do I say the word get in Spanish? Well, the problem is that the word get in Spanish doesn't translate very well. The word get can be various things, can be many things in Spanish. It depends very heavily on the context of the situation. I could get a Christmas gift. I could get lost. Very different types of get. I could get happier. Very different than getting a gift. There's different types of contexts. So what I like about Lingui is it gives you various different contexts that are pulled directly from other websites, like real websites. And you can see from real websites how other native speakers have used the word get in both English and Spanish. And I like the context element of it. A similar dictionary website is Word Reference. I'll type it for you. Word Reference. Very, very similar. They don't pull examples from real websites, but they have a user forum where people have actually asked questions on how to use specific words or specific grammar points. So Word Reference is also a very, very good tool for a wide array of languages. Let's get away from language learning tools. Let's go into some practical advice, just general advice for language learners. Let's start with some pronunciation tips. So let's start, for example, with the French R. That sound. I say a French R, but many languages have that sound or a similar sound. And people struggle to make the sound, and it exists in many, 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 many languages. To make the sound, what you have to do is the following. You have to first practice gargling water. Where's my glass of water? I thought I had a glass of water. I don't have a glass of water. I actually need a glass of water. My throat's a little bit dry. Anyway, I'll get one in a minute. So you take a sip of water and gargle. The action you do when you're gargling is identical to the action you do when pronouncing a French R, or that R sound. That's literally, there's a shirt on the bed. Interesting. Anyway, that's literally exactly what's happening. You're just gargling without any water in your mouth. It feels weird. You'll feel spit and stuff being kicked up in your mouth. That is just a reality. But that's just the sound that's just how that sound is, I suppose. Other pronunciation tips. This is more of a general one, but it's real. I think it'll help a bunch of you. When you're learning another language, if you want to learn the pronunciation, I highly recommend you spend 5 hours learning the phonetics, like the phonetic alphabet of that language. The phonetic alphabet is basically an international system used by phoneticians, which is a branch of, they work in the phonetics branch of linguistics, to describe sounds that are made by our mouth. It's kind of like you can describe a musical note by writing that note. Like if you know music, I can write the letter A, like I can put a dot, I can write it as a half note, as a quarter note, I can write it in different keys. Like there's different things you can do, right? You can write music, right? And that written version describes what you're going to then hear. Well, the IPA is basically the equivalent of writing music, but for language and for the sounds of language. So in English, we might describe the letter, I don't know. We might describe the sound k with the letter K, but in Spanish, they have the same sound or a similar sound with the letter, I don't know, QU, right? So it's just trying to standardize pronunciation. And having a basis, a foundation of phonetics can help you so much with pronunciation. Because when you study, when you're learning a new language and you don't know how a sound is pronounced, you can just literally Google the phonetic alphabet version of that sound. Someone's posted about it, and instantly, instead of trying to figure out with your ear how you're supposed to say it, you can see the written version of what you actually have to do to say that sound. It's a really good idea because our ears lie to us. You think you heard that sound correctly, and you think you're pronouncing that sound correctly, but you really might not be. You might not be. You might just be close or kind of in the right ballpark. We've been going for 16 minutes. Wow, that's already, that went by really, really fast. Maybe we can give one more piece of advice and we can wrap it up. Man, I have so many things on my mind, but I don't want to go too long. One last thing. By the way, if you've liked this video so far, or if you haven't liked it, give me some likes or dislikes. Give me some kind of feedback here. Comments, likes, dislikes. Give me something so I can see what people are thinking. So one more thing. What can I say? One more piece of advice that's really practical, like actionable, something that you can do. I think let me think on this. I want to give a good one for the last one. I think for the last piece of advice that I'll share here is, yeah, I got it. Everything you learn, you have to see it multiple times. If you learn a new word or a new grammar point or a new pronunciation point, whatever it is, you're going to have to revisit, you're going to have to study that, practice that, use that, hear it. You're going to have to encounter it in some way, shape, or form repetitively before it actually sticks in your brain. A great example of this, and then we'll finish. I'm teaching English to this host family that I'm living with here in Taipei. The son, I watched a video with the son the other day. We learned the word weird. Okay? We learned it. He didn't know the word weird. We're talking about the word weird. We learned it on Thursday, maybe Friday, Thursday or Friday of last week. Yesterday, which was Tuesday, he'd forgotten the word weird. Did not remember it whatsoever. So we learned it again. We talked about it. We then started, like maybe 7 minutes later, we're watching Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean is weird, no doubt about it. He's a weird dude in his videos, in the comedy sketches that he makes, right? He portrays a weird guy. And so I would say, man, Mr. Bean is really weird, right? And the homestay son is like, weird. What's weird? Weird. And we had to revisit it many times before finally the word weird stuck in his brain. So the repetitions is really important. It's very rare for you to encounter something once and suddenly you're really good. That's just not typically how it works. And so you can't beat yourself up or get frustrated if you've seen something once or twice or 3 times and it's not sticking. Very, very normal. That's just how it works. It's part of the process. All right. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your attention. Yeah, we'll talk later. Bye for now. See you.